Harvard University President Claudine Gay has received the unanimous support of the school's governing board. The school was under intense pressure to fire its first black president, but it wasn't for the reasons we were told. Let's be clear, some of the people leading the charge are not focused on anti-Semitism, they're focused on race. Claudine Gay just became president of Harvard 3 months ago, but in the past few days she came under attack from a deliberate pressure campaign to drive her out of office because of ill-advised testimony she gave to a House committee last week. One of those campaigners is Elise Stefanik, the opportunistic Republican congresswoman from New York who claimed to be the most outraged at last week's hearing. But this week, Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin exposed her hypocrisy.
Somebody like Elise Stefanik has no problem going after Ivy League presidents. What about Donald Trump?
Where was Elise Stefanik during the Trump years when anti-Semitism, hate crimes, racism, and bigotry all began to rise? Did Elise Stefanik call for Donald Trump's resignation when he said there were very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville? Did Elise Stefanik call for Trump's resignation when he tweeted a critical post about Hillary Clinton with a Star of David over a pile of cash in his 2016 campaign? Did Elise Stefanik call for Trump's resignation when he said that Jews who support Democrats are disloyal to Israel? Did Elise Stefanik call for Trump's resignation when he blamed the victims at the Tree of Life Synagogue for not protecting themselves from the anti-Semitic hate crime that killed 11 people? Did Elise Stefanik call for Trump's resignation when he told a Jewish group,
"You're not going to support me because I don't want your money"?
Did Elise Stefanik even call for her colleague Kevin McCarthy's resignation when he claimed that Jewish billionaires George Soros, Tom Steyer, and Mike Bloomberg were trying to buy our elections? And she's a Harvard grad who's probably a little bit bitter that Harvard removed her from a prestigious advisory committee after she facilitated Trump's January 6th coup attempt by refusing to certify President Biden's election. But that's another story. We also have to look at Chris Ruffo, the anti-black, anti-LGBTQ, Fox News favorite, far-right conservative Republican who is leading the online campaign to demonize Claudine Gay. Ruffo, who did not graduate from Harvard College or receive a Harvard PhD, but attended a Harvard Extension School program, wants to make an example out of President Gay so he can attack critical race theory and DEI policies that are oppressing straight white men like him. Claudine Gay graduated from Phillips Exeter Academy, received a BA from Stanford, won the prize for best undergraduate thesis in economics, earned a PhD from Harvard, won another prize for the best dissertation in political science, became a professor at Stanford, then a professor at Harvard, then dean of social science at Harvard, then dean of faculty at Harvard, and finally became president of Harvard. But the white guy who attended the extension school thinks she only got her job because of DEI. There have been 30 Harvard presidents in its 387-year history. Several, like Derek Bach, Abbott Lowell, and Charles Eliot, did not have a PhD, but they were white guys, so they had to be qualified, even though women and people of color were not eligible to be considered for centuries. We can debate whether a PhD is even necessary to be a college president, but Claudine Gay has one from Harvard, and when you're black, you have to be twice as good to get half as far. Just look at how Barack Obama had to be president of a Harvard Law Review, a constitutional law professor, a best-selling author, and a United States senator just to be taken seriously, while Trump had to host a reality show. And consider the resentment that followed. How dare this black man be president of our country? How dare this black woman be president of our nation's most prestigious university? The point is, this is not about Israel. It's not about Harvard. It's not even about Claudine Gay. It's about a long-term right-wing strategy to make America great again by undermining education itself as elitist and turning back the clock on black people, women, LGBTQ people, and anyone who doesn't fit their narrow vision of America. That's why this is not the time for progressives to be divided and conquered. The Nazis and Klansmen who enable the right-wing politicians hate all of us, whether you're black, Hispanic, Asian, Jewish, Muslim, Israeli, Palestinian, immigrant, LGBTQ, or a woman with the audacity to want to control her own body. So no, this is not the time to cower in fear. It's time to wake up and fight back for justice.
America's most prestigious academic institutions are facing a political crisis.
Calculated campaign to cancel a black educator in a rare position of power.
I have not seen any evidence that Claudine Gay was guilty of true plagiarism.
She's been accused of sort of more like copying other people's writings without attributions.
This is a very nuanced issue.
They've got her on a technicality.
The thing that really disturbs me is the unrelenting campaign from the right.
The campaign against her was led by conservative media and right-wing activists.
Their thirst to dethrone her.
The right-wing mob that is really behind this.
A well-orchestrated attack.
This is really an attack on academic freedom.
This is an attack on every black woman in this country.
Kind of neo-McCarthyist moment.
McCarthyite attack.
McCarthyite level hysteria.
This was all a sham.
All of this has the stink of racial bias.
This is racism.
Yes, it is rooted in racial animus.
There is this sort of open war on black progress. It's much easier to target women or women of color.
One of the great American phenomenons is the ability for mediocre white men to succeed.
Making it so uncomfortable for these women leaders that they have to step down to be replaced by white men.
Whoever at Harvard advised that Claudine Gay go to a bad faith committee hearing by Republicans should be fired before her.
Throw away your 5-year plans and open yourself up to serendipity, take risks. You know, when I think back on my career, it's only in retrospect that it seems linear, but at the moment, it really was about seeing opportunities and deciding to take a chance on them.
What happened to President Claudine Gay? It's the biggest assault on academic freedom in our history. It is unthinkable that a president of a university would be overthrown by big money. You know what Balzac famously said, the novelist, behind every great fortune is a crime. So this billionaire criminal class, if they can determine the president, they can determine every facet of university life. And I've talked to many student organizations, including at U of P and at Harvard, and I've said, your first demand when school resumes, McGill has to be restored. And that should be the first demand at Harvard. Claudine Gay has to be restored. So if you don't restore her, you've set a ghastly precedent. You will be the alumni of a generation of students that allowed for the end of academic freedom.
Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, there is only one solution, intifada revolution, and, quote, globalize the intifada. Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you not say here that it is against the code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech not cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When
you testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I both know that's not the case. You were aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
As I observed earlier, I reject that characterization.
It's the data shows it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist statements, sometimes as young as 16 years old? Did Harvard not rescind those offers of admission?
That long predates my time as president.
But you
so
understand that Harvard made that decision to rescind those offers of admission.
I have no reason to contradict the facts as you present them.
Correct,
here.
because it's a fact. You're also aware that a Winthrop House faculty dean was let go over who he chose to legally represent, correct? That was while you were dean.
That is an incorrect characterization of what transpired.
What's the characterization?
I'm not going to get into details about a personnel matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Will admissions offers be rescinded or any disciplinary action be taken against students or applicants who say, from the river to the sea or Intifada, advocating for the murder of Jews?
As I've said, that type of hateful, reckless, offensive speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Today that no action will be taken. What action will be taken?
When speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies, including policies against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action, and we have robust disciplinary processes that allow us to hold individuals accountable.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you we have robust
what
disciplinary
actions have been taken? I'm not asking
actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
Do you know what the #1 hate crime in America is?
I know that over the last couple of months, there has been an alarming rise of anti-Semitism, which I understand is the critical topic that we are here to discuss.
That's correct. It is anti-Jewish hate crimes. And Harvard ranks the lowest when it comes to protecting Jewish students. This is why I've called for your resignation, and your testimony today, not being able to answer with moral clarity, speaks volumes. I yield back.
We should note that Claudine Gay has not been accused of stealing anyone's ideas. She's been accused of sort of more like copying other people's writings.
It's official. Claudine Gay has resigned as president of Harvard University. Now, her supporters say that Gay, the first black president of Harvard, is a victim of racist mobs, and that her resignation is an attack on every black woman in the U.S. Others say Gay is being unfairly punished because she defended the right to say anti-Semitic things on campus. Well, that's all wrong. It isn't racist to oppose Gay. It's hardly some principled defender of free speech. In fact, during her tenure, Harvard dropped to dead last in the annual free speech rankings assembled by FIRE. Gay was actually ousted because she's a plagiarist, has been caught lazily repurposing work by other scholars. This isn't a new conservative weapon against colleges, it's Harvard's own policy. They should have held her to the same standard as any other professor or student who commits the same offense. Now, maybe the university can find a new president who actually cares about free speech and can articulate ideas for herself.
The president of Harvard University, Claudine Gay, resigned today, weeks after her controversial testimony before Congress about anti-Semitism, and as she faced mounting accusations of plagiarism. Erin McLaughlin has the story.
Tonight, embattled Harvard President Claudine Gay stepping down, abruptly ending her turbulent 6-month tenure as the institution's first black president, the shortest term of anyone in that position. In a letter to the Harvard community, Gay writing, "It has become clear that it is in the best interest of Harvard for me to resign, and that it has been distressing to have doubt cast on my commitments to confronting hate and to upholding scholarly rigor, two bedrock values that are fundamental to who I am, and frightening to be subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus."
The 40-second spin on the Harvard president's resignation, according to MSNBC, go. Claudine Gay's resignation shows how white rage can cripple college campuses. Harvard President Claudine Gay's resignation in the wake of a right-wing crusade that smeared her with trumped-up plagiarism accusations and portrayed her as indifferent to anti-Semitism. It's more evidence that white rage is coming for college campuses across the United States. The fury aimed at her by a largely white conservative movement that has tried to quash campus diversity initiatives and discussions about the United States' racist history. Can't get enough of that. The AP reported that such plagiarism claims, no matter their validity, are a new tool right-wingers are using. Let's see. And Tuesday's scalping, as Rufa called it, of Gay has only emboldened them. Okay, so the 40-second spin is this. She did nothing wrong. The devil made her do it. And I think by the devil, they mean white people. Hope you enjoyed the 40-second spin.